Good evening and welcome to the news. As usual, the Wednesday Bulletin has an hour and a half of Nigerian stories told the Nigerian way. We will also visit different parts of the country to track development affecting livelihoods, strengthening the Nigerian vision with key sound bites and offering new perspectives on unfolding events. Tonight, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group reviews 25 years of the nation's economy and the compass points to a brighter future.
Whatever we are doing, we have taken the message that we need to do more, we need to do better, and we need to do it in a hurry.
On agriculture, Nigeria's new heroes are the dogged farmers who have returned to the green lands in Borno despite the tears that soaked their land.
Many of the areas here are people who are returning, internally displaced people, people who have been displaced by activities of Boko Haram, but now returning home. Now, it is very interesting to see them now fully embracing agriculture and coming out in their thousands to exploit the land, to find from it and eat from it and live a decent and better life.
On transportation, Abuja Metro Line continues to make new friends, but some commercial cab owners are not smiling.
The terminal point here to my office is just about 15 minutes trekking, so I don't have budget again anymore for transportation.
On security, key stakeholders strategize to pool resources as part of efforts to effectively combat terror agents. Also in the bulletin, we will be in Borno to see the creative ways farming has been encouraged. And in politics, all is good to go in the Edo governorship election as INEC presents certified copy of registered voters to political parties. On business, Benny is the man to count every penny. So shall we begin? I'm Henry John. This is News Extra. Welcome. There is this view held by stakeholders in the Nigerian project that Nigeria's leap to economic growth requires leveraging technology and innovation supported by value addition for increased productivity. Benny Adams reports that Chief of Staff to the President and Ministers of Finance, Budget and Economic Planning say Nigeria's work in progress and needs the cooperation of all for the country to be great again. This was at the National Economic Dialogue with the theme, Nigeria's Economic Future, 25 Years of Democracy and Beyond, organized by the Nigeria Economic Summit Group and the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning in Abuja.
The conversation here is reminiscent of Nigeria's economic growth in the last 25 years of democratic rule, challenges and prospects.
The Nigerian project and the progress and prosperity of our nation's peoples depends on each of us knowing and operating in the knowledge that Nigeria belongs to us all. And we each have a responsibility to build a nation and leave a legacy we can be proud of. This is our great test and our most defining task. And it can only be achieved by our joint efforts as citizens.
We have to interrogate what happened. Are there any frameworks, are there any instruments that nations such as China and the Asian countries have utilized that are not available to us or have not been deployed by us? We have had plans right from about 1962, the first National Development Plan. China is in the middle of its 14th five-year plan. So these are some of the areas that we have to look. They have consistently planned and stuck to that plan.
Protests have made us to listen more. Whatever we are doing, we have taken the message that we need to do more, we need to do better, and we need to do it in a hurry.
We must strengthen our institutions, and we must promote transparency in governance to build trust and to attract investments. Rule of law, sanctity of contracts, and a transparent and accountable government are essential for creating an enabling environment for economic growth.
Speakers opine that coming from acceleration to deceleration, resilience and stagnation in the last 25 years, and now volatility, the ballot should deliver on quick wins for economic growth. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
More business stories to follow that report, and Benny is our man. Benny.
Thank you, Nyeri. And more on business. The ABC ambassadors of Australia, Belgium and Canada have commended Nigeria's efforts at promoting transparency and good governance in the extractive sector and agrees to assist Nigeria with technical support towards achieving increased revenues for sustainable development. This was as the visitors were taken through the recently launched state-of-the-art data center at the NTA House in Abuja. While global conversations on reduction in use of fossil fuels take center stage, Nigeria is set to lose a large chunk of revenue from sales of crude oil, which happens to be the main source of revenue for the country. To this end, NTA is asking the international community to consider acting fast in bridging development gaps between the developing and the developed economies by way of investing in gas infrastructure, as it is Nigeria's choice of a cleaner energy.
How do you move along with the energy transition while sustaining the survival of the economy? That's the challenge. And that thinking has to begin now. And we can't guess. It's not a guesswork. That's why we need an empirical report.
We're also facing energy transition questions. We benefit from the natural resources we have, and we're needing to look more closely at how we, again, coordinate within our federal system on moving our own country in direction X or Y, depending on what the policy is.
It should be transparency work, which remains irrelevant as long as oil and gas extraction will continue.
With a very strong level of transparency and good governance, that then builds investor confidence. And investor confidence then brings capital, which helps with economic development.
And a look at markets, investors gained 599.43 billion naira as the all-share index declined by 0.107%. A total of 360.5 million shares in 8,813 deals, corresponding to a market value of 7.252 billion naira, were traded. Today's data shows a 64% decline in volume, 6% decline in turnover, but 6% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization is 54.4 trillion naira. And on the aggregate, 117 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 27 gainers and 19 losers. Owando recorded the highest volume of 66.2 million traded shares, followed by Guarantee Trust holding 45.7 million, QTX 29.4 million, and Universal Insurance Company 25.4 million. That is it on Business Extra. Henry, you can take it from here.
Many thanks, Benny, for that update. Now let's also inform you that the concept of conveying farmers to and through their farmlands with buses free of charge, courtesy of Borno State government, is one initiative farmers say is certainly changing their lives for the better. Abubakar Musa reports that the intervention has also paved way towards a new lease of life as the farmers now save more.
Farmers, comprising both men and women, are being conveyed to their farmlands and brought back to the point of departure by these buses daily. Despite the multitude of farmers aspiring to get to the farm and return on time due to the provision of free ride, orderliness and peaceful coexistence are strictly being adhered to without compromise, owing to efforts of military personnel and local security operatives.
I think it's a welcome idea, and as a farmer and as a civil servant, I can say at least, not just for me, at least for those who don't have access to the cost of maybe it's also for the cost of transportation here to the farms, at least is a little bit not cheaper.
Yanzu din da din muna tafiya a cikin moto, amma yanzu an kawo mana moto mun gode mishi.
Muna biya kudi, amma yanzu kan gaskiya free ne. Free. So say mun gode masa.
The idea is not just to boost food production in Borno and the country in general, but to bridge the gap within the agricultural space due to years of insurgency.
If the government goes in and it has taken over the transportation cost, it will actually have effect in terms of positive impact in their production.
The exercise is expected to continue to the end of the rainy season. An on-the-spot assessment of the provision of free transportation for the conveyance of farmers to and from their farmlands will leave one with a feeling that this game-changing initiative could probably be among series of interventions already in the pipeline towards making life better for the citizenry, especially the common man. Or what do you think, Ian Ray? In Maiduguri, Abubakar Musa, NTA News.
Well, thanks, Abubakar, for the update. Of course, we got more on farming all the way from Borno, but that's much later in the bulletin. Still in Borno State now, Governor Babagana Umar Zulum has supervised distribution of federal government food palliatives to over 10,000 families in Mafa local government area. The distribution was held at 4 centers in Mafa town, headquarters of the local government council. Mohammed Goni has this.
Each of the 10,000 heads of households spread across 4 centers in Mafa receive a bag of maize as part of federal government's continued support to the citizenry across the country.
We shall be transparent and accountable. About 10,000 heads of household, male heads of household, are to receive the food items. So these food items that are here constitute the last batch of the food items that were given to the federal government of Borno State. You can remember that some few months ago, we were at Goda local government area to distribute the first batch. The second batch was distributed in Ganze local government area of Borno State, while this is the last batch.
Some of the beneficiaries who spoke to NTA News were full of praises to the government for what they describe as timely intervention. Meanwhile, 15,000 female residents of Mafa have been profiled to receive 10,000 naira each, amounting to 150 million naira through the microfinance bank as part of financial inclusion policy of the state government. The female beneficiaries are to also receive clothing materials procured by the state government. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA News.
Away from Borno State briefly now, a bit to address the problem of land encroachment, generate revenue as well as contribute towards ensuring food security in Kwara State. The management of the State Polytechnic embarked on commercial farming on 20 hectares of land within the institution. Khadijat Akombi, just back from the farm, reports that harvesting of maize has commenced, while that of cassava is expected in March next year.
For a long time now, the management of Kwara State Polytechnic has been having a running battle with many communities over encroachment on the institution's land. The institution occupies only 6% of its entire land mass, 41% have been encroached upon, while 53% is not accessible. A bid to address these challenges, the management of the Polytechnic embarked on commercial farming to claim the remaining virgin land and support the Kwara State government in the area of food security, among other reasons.
To ensure that food is available at affordable price and use it for the training of the students, then to reclaim the land from the encroachers.
When all the produce have been harvested, it will go a long way to meet the current food crisis going on in the country.
We've learned about the production of maize and production of cassava, about the harvesting, the planting, the fertilizing.
How we plant them, how we weed them, the harvesting period, when to harvest and how to process it.
Plans are also underway to embark on all year-round farming through irrigation and other agricultural ventures.
We are thinking of increasing the number of crops that we plant. They will most likely go into area of animal rearing, like poultry, piggery, snakery, rearing of bee is something that you can go into later in the future.
About 25 tons of maize are expected to be harvested, while 100 tons of cassava are also expected to be harvested in March next year. This achievement by the Kwara State Polytechnic is a clear testimony that higher institutions in the country, if well mobilized, can play a very significant role towards eliminating hunger and ensuring food security. Khadija Takumbi, NTA News.
Well said, Khadijat. And back to the home of peace. Now, a beautiful life is unfolding in northern Borno, and it is giving hope to thousands of hitherto displaced residents. This region has suffered great dislocation as a result of insurgency, but it is emerging from it with renewed confidence and sense of security. Hamisu Rogo on the roads to Kukawa captured a great scenario in Mogunu, where hundreds of displaced citizens are back home and finding fulfilling life from the land they only knew as home.
When God decides to create northern Borno, he makes it green. He makes it such an extensive land, it does not seem to stop. Within that expanse, it's a soil fertile, not impeded by mountains or large trees. In the first decade or more, northern Borno, and in fact a significant portion of Borno state, went through trial of monumental proportion and created mass dislocation and anarchy. There is not a section of it not affected. Mercifully, peace is being achieved now, and many communities are resettled. Their test, however, is what do they come back to? With the guarantee of greater security and a ready land to receive them back, many of the returnees are on a smooth ride. We in particular ran into an amazing scenario in Mungunu on our way to Kukawa, and despite our large train, we couldn't miss it. As we left Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, going to Kukawa, still in Borno State, we ran into an interesting scenario in Mungunu. You know what? Hundreds of youth, women and children, we saw them coming out of the farm. They do not seem to stop. Their number does not seem to cease. You know what? It is interesting that most of the people that are living in these areas are people that have recently been resettled. Because of the activities of Boko Haram, they have been out of their homes for a long time. Now they have returned home and they have fully embraced agriculture. The people of Munguno were some of the earliest resettled communities in northern Borno. It is like the entire town find vocation in agriculture. Nobody seems to miss out. We actually call these lovely things of their return. Many are coming back with the firewood. Many only had their farm implements. One thing is clear though. The farmlands seem to be distant from the town Munguno. By implication, there is an improved sense of security among the local community. They can trek long distances.
Last year the harvest was poor, but we have hope for a better harvest this year.
I am a returnee. We farm what we eat, and we are happy. Last year the harvest failed, but if rain is sufficient this year, we will have enough to eat.
One of the most abiding features were of trucks that are loading farmers back from their farm. It is a miracle those communities still have them around. Now northern Borno, insurgents release burning houses and cars. In the meantime, the vehicles seem real farm companions. Again, northern Borno is one of the most fertile areas of Nigeria. The people within the catchment area have this amazing gallery of crops at bonfire level without recourse to fertilizer. The soil takes care of that. In definite areas, cropping there is 3 times a year, and the soil produces with integrity. Crops apart, fishing is an all-year-round activity and extensive, thanks to proximity to channels of Lake Chad. Perhaps no part of the country boasts such fishing activity and fish trade on the scale that this segment of Borno does. It is a heaven in the wilderness.
During my last visit to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I told him on the need to invest heavily in Borno State, especially in the shores of the Lake Chad. All these areas that you have seen were busy enough some 15 years ago. Lake Chad shores within Borno State provide food to about 10 million Nigerians hitherto.
As we leave Munguno, I must say we ran into more compelling scenarios which we are sure to share with you. In Munguno town, Mohammed Hamis Rogo, NTA News.
Beautiful storyline there, Hamisu. Many thanks. All right, President Bola Tinubu has approved the takeover and conversion of the Dalhatu Arab Specialist Hospital, Lafia, to Federal University of Lafia Teaching Hospital, Nasarawa. following a request by the Nasarawa state government. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ngalale, notes that the conversion of the health facility to a federal teaching hospital will not only enhance the training of students in medical and allied sciences, but boost healthcare delivery in the state. The statement adds that the President remains committed to ensuring social welfare and healthcare security of Nigerians and will aggressively sustain his administration's investment drive and efforts in the sector. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also approved the reappointment of Professor Abdurrahman Abba Sheshe as the Chief Medical Director of Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, Kano, for a second and final term of 4 years with effect from December 5, 2023. The President expects Professor Sheshe to rededicate himself to improving the standards of the hospital and ensure efficient delivery of qualitative services to citizens. Similarly, the President also approved the reappointment of Professor Yusuf Jibrin Bara as Chief Medical Director of Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Teaching Hospital, Bauchi, for a second final term of 4 years. The President's approval follows an assessment of Professor Jibrin Bara's performance in his first term in office. The President anticipates that with the renewal of Professor Jibrin Bara's appointment, he will consolidate on the achievements recorded in his first term in office. This is News Extra. More to come. Stay with us. Welcome back. The financial services industry is witnessing a revolution with the coming on board of NetApp's payment system, a product of NetApp's Technologies Limited. In addition to the usual payment features, NetApp's is providing unique products to its customers that would add value to their transaction. Baside Abel Amosu reports that this initiative will give customers alternative in the marketplace.
NetApp's is coming to the market with 5 products and 4 services to include NetApp's Marketplace, KYC Insight, NetApp's Pay, and Swift Pay. Others are virtual kiosks, bank link, wallet as a service, and software as a service, among others. This fintech company specializes in payment infrastructure solutions for both banked and the unbanked clients.
These solutions are designed with the core values of security, efficiency, and user-friendliness in mind.
The creativity, the versatility, and the initiative of the Nigerian mind is without bounds, it's unlimitless.
It is my pride, accordingly, to recommend this creative facility to the benefit and use of the general Nigerian public.
With limitless opportunities where customers can be served at ease and have value for their money, stakeholders say they are adopting relevant technologies that would help in addressing bottlenecks experienced by operators in the market space.
Our intention is to make sure that every single customer that leverages on our platform enjoys the optimal service that we give. And as the journey goes, we have suites of products to ensure that the lapses of those before us, that we do not experience it.
Everything is going digital, or AI as it were. And these are products, I believe, that are designed to enhance the ease of doing business.
Each day you do a transaction there, there's something to earn. You understand? Making you a millionaire.
From what was presented, it's not just you key in and you make payment. There are a lot of other services, a lot of interaction, games, reward system is quite massive.
Once you visit our website, netapps.ng, you see all our products, the unique selling points, the services, and you can leverage on it as an individual or a business owner.
This initiative, they say, will improve on financial inclusion and rapid economic growth as the country thrives in the cashless economy. In Abuja, Baside Abel Amosu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Africa's largest mobile network operator, MTN, unveils 20 most valuable players, MVPs, from MTN Champs Secondary Schools Athletics meets at different parts of the country and nurturing them to become superstars. Olumide Eguntola has the details of the unveiling ceremony held in Lagos.
The popular statement, "Many are called, but few are chosen," best describes this scenario. As Africa's premier grassroots athletics competition, MTN Champs unveils these 20 most valuable players from the MTN Champs Making of Champions Athletics Hunt initiative. These future superstars emerged victorious amongst 15,000 athletes from 900 secondary schools across the country from season 1 and 2 of the competition. Regarded as the golden eggs, key actors believe these champions in different events will win medals for Nigeria in the next Olympic Games and other national and international athletics meets.
As we induct the MVPs into the MOC Athletics Academy powered by MTN, we are filled with a sense of pride. The academy is more than a training ground. It's a platform where talent is recognized and honed, where dreams are nurtured, and where passion translates into performance, reshaping the future of Nigeria. These athletes became Team MTN at the MOC Athletics Academy for an intensive one-year program.
We're very excited about the process, and we're very excited about the journey ahead. We believe that all 20 of these athletes will have a great chance of qualifying for Team Nigeria for the Olympics in LA 2028.
Some of the MTN Champs expressed hope of writing Nigeria's history at a global stage.
I want to be the top because I've had this as an imagination and a dream.
In our side, we don't have track, but even my coach trained me much, and I promised him that I will make him proud no matter what.
The young victorious athletes were formally integrated into Team MTN at Making of Champions Academy with the presentation of the golden tickets. In Lagos, Olumide Eguntola, NTA News.
Nigeria is making another leap in its digital growth as the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, through its information technology regulator, NTA, gathers ICT industry key players to discuss the white paper for adoption and deployment of IPv6, Internet Protocol version 6, a unique identification address for each digital service connected to the Internet. Chimdema Undabese reports that presently, under the IP version 4, only about 1 million IP addresses are assigned to the 122 million internet subscribers in Nigeria, meaning that many devices are masked under a singular IP address. The 6th version of the Internet Protocol address offers robust connectivity and security for Nigeria's digital space.
Protocol version 6 is the latest protocol. We would like to see it become the standard for every critical service provider within the digital economy space. Cybersecurity is people hiding under certain places to be able to attack the system. But with IP version 6, it improves the country's capability in terms of being able to track where traffic is coming from, what people are doing on it, and as such ensuring that our citizens are safe.
Adoption of IPv6 will open $10 trillion market globally. So looking at our population in Nigeria, we can create a lot of activities in doing that.
Of 2.5% deployment, which is the second largest IPv6 deployment in Africa after Egypt. So it is about 1.6 million IPv6 users. And this is why we have this meeting. How to move at least in the next couple of years to 50%, which is the average worldwide.
Adoption of 5.5G network and advancement of 5th generation network is also on the table. This offers faster internet speed at 10 gigabytes downloads and 1 gigabyte uploads with low latency. And now, joining me in the studio to talk about this is the Acting Director, Standards, Guidelines and Frameworks, Department NIDA. I have Emmanuel Edet. Many thanks for joining us on News Extra.
Thank you.
All right, now stepping up from IPv4 to IPv6 and from 5G network to 5.5G, what does this mean for an ordinary internet user? Is it really going to improve connectivity?
The single word answer to that is yes. As we have found out over the time, IPv4 is becoming extinct because most of the addresses have been exhausted, and IPv6 is a new version that offers a lot more in terms of addresses. IPv4 probably has about 4.2 billion addresses, while IPv6 has about 340 undecillion addresses. That's about 3.4 multiplied by 10 raised to power 38.
That's great news. Now, conversations have started on the white paper, developed for adoption and deployment of IPv6 Internet Protocol version 6. What are the contents of this white paper?
The white paper simply describes and compares IPv4 with IPv6, talks about the latest industry trends as far as IPv adoption is concerned. It also mentions the kind of benefits you observed in terms of digitalization when you adopt IPv6, and also profiles a suggestion on a timetable on how to move Nigeria forward in terms of adoption of IPv6.
All right. Now, Mr. Emmanuel, every day we hear complaints from information technology users of fraud and theft on the internet space. Now, is the adoption and deployment of IPv6 Internet Protocol version 6 going to tackle cyber crimes?
While it's not a silver bullet and a single solution to tackle cybercrime, it actually provides support, because using IPv6, you can easily identify who is on a particular network and what type of device they're using. IPv6 also comes with an inbuilt security feature that supports encryption. So yes, it will support the fight against cybercrime and protect cybersecurity, but it's not a silver bullet in that regard.
All right, well, at least that's a bit of a cheering news there. Now, because of time, let's wrap up the conversation. What will be its impact on digital economy growth and overall digital transformation of the nation?
With the emergence of artificial intelligence and all other forms of emerging technologies, IPv6 will provide a greater opportunity for cloud and edge computing, as well as enable people to draw up innovation applications that can run on networks, because the speed will be improved and the processing power will also improve. Also, it will provide an opportunity for additional devices and people to get on the internet to access government services, as well as transact their business seamlessly on a 10 gigabyte network.
Many thanks, Emmanuel Edet, for joining us on News Extra.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Now, still talking technology and the internet space, Nigecomsat is set to launch a new satellite in 2027. This was revealed when the management of the Nigerian Television Authority and Nigecomsat renewed commitment to improve broadcast service delivery in the country. Ayodeji Makinde reports.
The management of the Nigerian Television Authority, led by the Director General Salihu Abdulhamid Dembels, is meeting the leadership of Nigecomsat for the first time since the appointment of Nkechi Egerton Idehe as Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer. The essence of the meeting is to strengthen strategic partnership between the two agencies, adapt to modern challenges in tech and communications.
We are confident that with the continuous support and collaboration of Nigecomsat, we will not only meet our demands, but exceed the expectation of Nigerian people, and together we will continue to build a robust communication network that serves as a catalyst for our nation's growth and development.
We're going forward to ensure that the current satellite we have, we actually upgrade it and replace it with a more modern satellite. And that should happen in another 3 years, because all work has started. We're going to ensure that our infrastructure is upgraded. In the next couple of months, we'll probably start to see quite a number of changes, even in our broadcasting unit.
Nigecomsat lauded the NTA on its impact in broadcast journalism, reaffirming readiness to partner in digital content creation across all spheres of life in the country, from the boardroom There was a tour of its direct-to-home facility where NTA management was briefed on plans to increase the capacity and output of service delivery when the new satellite is launched, fourth quarter of 2027. In Abuja, Ayodeji, Makinde, NTA News.
Away from NIGCOMSAT now, looking at other news, head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Didi Esther Wilson-Jack, has urged civil servants in the country to be computer literate and imbibe personal development in order to be relevant in the service. The head of service gave the advice during the monitoring of the 2024 Public Service Confirmation Exams in Abuja. Haman Jabani reports.
Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Didi Esther Wilson-Jack, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary, Common Service Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Raymond Omachi, monitored the confirmation exams in the National Institute for Security Studies and JAM office out of the 5 centers in Abuja. The examination, which is to test their knowledge on what they have acquired in the last 2 years, has 12,444 candidates across the country. Out of this, Abuja has 2,324 in 45 centers.
We are looking for more collaboration to ensure that this kind of capacity is built in the civil service. Digitalization has come, and all civil servants are, encouraged, to key into it. There is no place for those who are not ready to follow the trend of technology in the country.
Enterprise content management, which requires everybody to have digital skills to be able to navigate, this kind of ICT technology. So we expect that using this kind of process in examination will also build their skills.
It is a great one, and surprisingly, the candidates, that's the officers, they are actually in tune with what is happening. Because entering the hall, you saw the way they were seated like candidates.
Head of the Civil Service of the Federation says the digitization policy of the government is here to stay, which will give room for transparency and accountability. The result is expected to be out in few days. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
Let's take a look at education now. A lifeline, you may say, as the House of Representatives is advocating more funds to the Nigerian Maritime University occurring Koko, Delta State, to address infrastructural deficits in the institution. The good news came when the House of Representatives Committee on University Education visited the institution. National Assembly correspondent Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports on this and other oversight visits to federal universities in the South Zone.
This is the way to the Nigerian Maritime University, Okerenkoko, Delta State. And with me are members of the House of Representatives Committee on University Education on oversight visit.
After 1.5 hours journey through the Riverine area, members of the House Committee arrived at their destination. The engagement commenced. Reports presented and observations made on critical areas as they affect each institution.
Life is as it is here is very, very difficult. You have seen the terrain, how we suffered before we even got here. So these are some of the issues that are infrastructure inadequacy.
At the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, FORUM, the committee identified violation on internally generated revenue.
We have noted the lapses that was raised by the team, and we are going to respond to that.
The committee was also at the University of Calabar and that of Uyo, all in the South, breached in the nominal role which violated federal character principles, attracted the representatives' attention.
We have asked for opportunity for us to employ. We don't have enough staff in most of our departments, most of our programs. Some of our programs are relatively new. Some staff have died, some have retired, some have japared.
The committee is expected to round off its visitations with Southwest and the Northwest geopolitical zones. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
And I have joining me now the Chairman House Committee on University Education and Member Representative Birinwa Kiri Kasama, Guri Federal Constituency, Jigawa State, Abubakar Hassan Fulata. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, Chairman, your committee has been going around federal universities across the country since June 2024. How far so far?
Well, the visits are in line with our constitutional duties to oversight all universities in Nigeria, interface with them, do their budget, and see to the implementation of those budgets. So, in essence, we're there to interface with them, assess their shortcomings and their challenges, and also their achievements. So far, so good. We have visited all the universities, with the exception of 2 in the Northeast. We have visited all the universities in the North Central Zone. We have visited all the universities in the South. We have visited all the universities in Southeast. So remaining Northwest and Southwest.
Great effort there. Now, violations of constitutional regulations in managing internally generated revenue, inappropriate spendings and lopsided recruitment against federal character topped major issues the committee identified. Can you shed more light on this?
Yeah, really it's a serious challenge. I raised those issues with virtually all the universities. The violations of the extant provisions of Section 14, subsection 3 of the Constitution, with regards to the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, where the Constitution specifically asked that no institution or any government agency should be dominated by a particular ethnic group or particular few number of states. In contravention of this constitutional provision, virtually all universities are dominated by people where the institutions are cited. The state where the institution is cited dominates in terms of employment. Whereas the principle of federal character clearly states that no state should get more than 3%. In fact, every state is allocated 2.7% of the manpower of any government agency, and a maximum allowance is made for 3%. But in most cases, you have a 90% domination, 80%. The least you can have is 60% of domination. This goes contrary to our Constitution.
These issues are worrisome. Now, besides the ones already mentioned, could you tell us other anomalies that you identified in the course of your visit?
Yes.
What measures will your committee take to
Yes,
address
the other
that?
abnormality is the wanton, the recklessness with which internally generated revenues are spent. Those revenues are never appropriated. This is also contrary to the extant provisions of Section 80, subsection 3 and 4 of the Constitution. You cannot, nobody, no government agency can spend unappropriated monies. They just generate those monies and just spend them anyhow. We caution them, and that it's violating the Constitution constitutes gross misconduct, and it's a gross misconduct in parliamentary parlance is an impeachable offense.
All right, Mr. Chairman, because of time, what areas do you think this committee can help institutions of learning to achieve greater heights?
Yes, there has never been a time when the education sector received a substantial amount of budgetary allocation of over 1.1 trillion. But this feat is still below the United Nations requirement of at least 20% of the budgetary of the national budget. We will try now best way to make universities utilize the talents. There are a lot of research achievements. A lot of researches have been made, the outcomes of which can be commercialized. they can sell the outcomes of those research to industries, and they can get a lot of monies. But most of the universities are still very conservative. They don't want to explore other areas.
And you intend to assist them in that regard?
Yes, we'll intend
all
to.
Right, all right. Many thanks. I think we'll have to leave the conversation at that point. Many thanks for joining us, Dr. Abubakar Hassan Folata.
Thank you
for joining us on News Extra tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So let's take another break. Remain tuned. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFund, is changing the narrative in the education sector with the disbursement of funds to beneficiaries, institutions and monthly upkeep allowances directly to students who applied. Hingino John Adams reports that the initiative is still receiving commendations.
In April 2024, President Bola Tinubu signed the Student Loan Bill, which is aimed at encouraging more Nigerians to seek knowledge and become valuable contributors to national development. With this move, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFund, will pay school fees of successful applicants directly to their institutions and a monthly upkeep allowance of 20,000 naira to students who include it in their applications.
Okay, it's going to be very helpful because there are a lot of students that are not capable financially.
They'll be able to concentrate more on their academics instead of finding jobs to do to be able to meet up with their financial requirements.
Some students want to go for medical courses and they don't have the financial assistance. They don't have that much money to pay due to the high cost of the tuition and the high cost of the course. So this student loan will help them to pay for their courses.
This is evident with the recent clearance of more state-owned tertiary institutions by NELFund to apply for student loan.
Before putting this horse forward, another cat should have actually been dealt with, and which is the need for us to actually have a proper data management and proper data infrastructure and architecture put in place.
Government should be wary of the fact that some people want to take advantage of that. They should try as much as possible to ensure that there is that serious blockade of rooms for whoever that want to take advantage of it.
For continuity of the program, experts say NELFund must ensure that all beneficiaries repay their loans. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
Nigerian-born mayor of Leeds in the United Kingdom, Abigail Katung, has advocated international higher education partnerships that will contribute significantly to the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This is because the goals are interlinked and unlikely to be achieved in isolation. The mayor of Leeds is in Nigeria and she visited the Olayinka Ojo has details.
As the clock ticks, so the globe moves towards the year 2030, which is expected to mark the end of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015. At its heart are 17 goals, both for developed and developing countries, which provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for the world at large, now and into the future.
When we start talking about sustainable development, the list can go on. And when we start from education to food, I always say I am so particular about food because it's one of the most important human rights everyone should have. So when we're looking at poverty in terms of the SDG goals, if you cannot take care of that, then we are going to struggle in every other goal that we're at.
It is in recognition of the fact that ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand that Nigerian-born mayor of Leeds in the United Kingdom, Abigail Katung, is at the center to see how she can foster positive collaborations through research funding and enacting exchange programs with the Leeds Trinity University.
Russell Group, and we actually have a School of African Studies where SDG goals are actually being taught. So I will make sure we marry ourselves because that's what we're doing.
Professor Sule Magaji is the director of Center for Sustainable Development, University of Abuja.
I believe that you can be of help to link us, and also the issues of funding. You see somebody with a gigantic research plan only to be constrained by funding. It will pave way to help our country also achieve the sustainable development goals.
With less than 7 years to the end of Sustainable Development Goals targets, experts say collaborations must not be compromised. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Chairman, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, applauds the Nigerian diaspora for their significant contributions to the country's economy as remittances hit $553 million in July alone. This was during a strategic meeting with the Lord Mayor of Leeds, Councillor Abigail Marshall Katung, who visited the NIDCOM headquarters in Abuja. Dabiri-Erewa states that diaspora remittances as well as investments have a direct positive impact on the nation's economy and encourages the mayor to actively participate in NIDCOM's activities and programs.
So we'll continue to celebrate people like you, work with you, and ensure that we bring the best out of our countries. We'll build this great country of ours. I want to count on your experience and knowledge in Leeds. There are younger people here that you can also mentor.
We are also your representatives. No matter where we go, south, east, north, or west, we will always be Nigerians. We only need to open our mouth to speak, and you will know that we are Nigerians.
Lord Mayor of Leeds, Abigail Marshall Katung, is the first elected councillor from Africa to hold the council position. Let's look at other issues now, as the Federal Road Safety Corps is to launch a mobile app to ease interaction between the Corps and the public for proper information dissemination and awareness to the public. Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, Shehu Mohammed, revealed this during a courtesy visit to the Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Salihu Abdulhamid Dembos, and his management staff. Oyeyemi Ajayi reports.
The first visit of the Corps Marshal, Federal Safety Corps, Shehu Mohammed, to any media organization since the assumption of office. He calls it a homecoming, basically to commend the NTA for its supportive role to the Corps for 3 decades. Now, straight to business, the Corps Marshal disclosed the soon-to-be-launched mobile app created by the Corps to ease road management, safety and control. The app, described as one-stop shop, captures everything about road safety.
From our statistics, we have seen that for the first 6 months of 2023, there were almost 5,700 cases of road traffic accidents. Compared to this year, another 6 months, January to June, we still had about 5,000. That's just about 12.5% reduction. But in terms of injury, we have about over 16,000, persons that were injured as at last year. So we want to shift from the drivers' sensitization to commuters, passengers.
Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Salihu Abdulhamid Dembos, assures the Corps of support and public enlightenment and publicity.
I also acknowledge your concern about also commuters. It's not good enough because somebody is driving you, he drives you anyhow. You have every right to complain, and if need be, if the person is not adhering to the complaint, perhaps if you find yourself in a checkpoint, you should report so that at least the individual driver would be stopped and the necessary action be taken.
Shehu Mohammed is the 8th Corps Marshal of the Federal Safety Corps, thought to be appointed from the ranks and file of the Corps, first to be appointed from the position of the Assistant Corps Marshal. Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Operations on the Abuja Metro line have been described as a symbolic milestone of enduring progress for Nigeria, which deserves to be replicated in other parts of the country. Aisha Bashir reports that visitors visited this months into the Abuja free train ride aimed at providing succor to many.
Transportation gives hope and access to various individuals and organizations like this school whose pupils are on excursion to the metro station for a feel of the excitement that comes with the light rail.
I just feel like, okay, since we have a train station, because our mosque is not far from here, it's just an opportunity for us to take the kids round.
It's fun and it's exciting. It feels fun to see the outside while riding on the train.
For others, it not only leaves a lasting impression, but also points to government's transformation agenda.
I am so fortunate in Kubwa that the rail station, the terminal point at Kubwa is very close to my house. From the terminal point here to my office is just about 15 minutes trekking, so I don't have budget again anymore for transportation.
This train is free from I don't know which month, but to December.
You know, the government of the day have done a good job by following up with what the previous administration started.
The free train service moves a cumulative passenger count of about 5,880,000 commuters free on the two lines that transcend the city center and about 12 satellite towns on the Idu-Bazongo-Kubwa axis of the Federal Capital Territory. Commuters say the alternative transport service has positively impacted on movement in the FCT early mornings and evenings on weekends, with a plea for extension of the services to weekends and expansion of the rail project across other communities in the FCT. In Abuja, Aisha Bashir, NTA News.
Free rides, very interesting. Now, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has declared that the park and pay policy is illegal. The minister made a declaration while interacting with selected media practitioners in Abuja. Onoze Yakubu has the details of the live telecast.
1 year down the lane, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, says his stewardship as the 17th FCT Minister has been both interesting and challenging, with the support from President Bola Tinubu and the daunting challenges of changing the narratives on infrastructure development in the FCT. He says presidential approvals on the creation of the FCT Civil Service Commission, creation of new secretariats, and exemption of the FCTA from the Treasury single account, among others, assisted in enhancing development in the nation's capital.
Our ambition is to make FCT a livable city where people can feel comfortable, where we can say yes. We have been traveling around the world. We have seen how cities are planned. We have seen infrastructure in cities. That is our own ambition, to turn FCT to one of the best cities in the world, not only because of infrastructure, but also in terms of environment.
On transportation, the FCT minister discloses that the inaugurated Abuja light rail transport system is already impacting on the lives of the residents, with 4,000 passengers using the eco-friendly transport system on daily basis, with a declaration that the park and pay policy in the territory is illegal.
Mr. President has given me everything I require to work as far as the FCT is concerned. I don't have any excuse or excuses not to perform, because everything you require as a tool to do your work and to give it. Luckily for me, Mr. President has never one day interfered in anything concerning FCT.
The minister also hinted that 30 additional schools will be rehabilitated in the FCT, with 75 kilometers of roads to be inaugurated across the area councils of the territory in December. Nyesom Wike, however, reveals that President Bola Tinubu has increased the procurement threshold of the FCT, a development he added will yield positive results. Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
Another break is due. Please stay with us. In a decisive effort to further weaken the activities of remnant of terrorists operating in the northeast, while also protecting innocent civilians and own troops. The air component of Operation Hadinkai has successfully executed an air interdiction mission on 16th of August 2024 in Arena, Southern Turbans, Borno State. Defense correspondent Olajide Bello reports.
Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigerian Air Force, Air Vice Marshal Edward Gapwet, says prior to the mission, intelligence had revealed that clandestine migration of terrorists into the area from neighboring locations, confirmatory intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions were further conducted on 12th and 15th August 2024, which identified numerous terrorists and active structures concealed under trees. Consequently, coordinated airstrikes were launched over the location and the targets successfully engaged, resulting in the neutralization of several terrorists and the destruction of their structures. Battle damage assessments after the strikes revealed that several equipment, vehicles, water vessels and a suspected medical dispensary were obliterated by the strikes. Additionally, credible intelligence further revealed that 5 key terrorist leaders were either killed or severely injured in the strike, along with over 35 other foot soldiers. Operation, no doubt, has significantly degraded the operational capacity of the few remaining terrorists in the region. The Nigerian Air Force remains committed to supporting the efforts of the armed forces of Nigeria and other security agencies. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
And still talking security, the United Nations in Nigeria has pledged continuous support to the country's efforts at combating terrorism through its humanitarian works, as well as the provision of technical and developmental assistance. The UN resident coordinator in Nigeria, Mohammed Fall, made the commitment during the commemoration of the 2024 International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the Victims of Terrorism, held at the United Nations House in Abuja. Chukunonso Nwambweze reports.
A minute's silence in honor of the victims and survivors of the August 26, 2011 bomb blast that killed 23 UN staff and partners, injuring over 60 here at the UN headquarters Abuja, set the tone for the solemn event. United Nations resident coordinator in Nigeria, Mohammed Fall, while paying tributes to victims and survivors of terrorism in Nigeria and around the world, commends federal government's efforts at countering the menace.
It is also encouraging to note that the government is aware of terrorism as a phenomenon which is cross-border and that can only be effectively dealt with by an engagement at regional, sub-regional, and global level.
National Security Advisor Nuhuri Badu, in a message, retraced the commitment of Nigeria in the global campaign against terrorism.
We will strengthen our efforts to counter terrorism in all its form and manifestation. As we remain determined to prevent further tragedies and protect the peace and security of our dear nation.
In collaboration with the UNDP, the Commission is running a pilot rehabilitation, restorative, and retributive justice program in some Northeast communities affected by terrorism.
Federal Republic of Nigeria, UNOCT and UNODC will seek to strengthen Nigeria's capacity to support the needs and protect the rights of victims of terrorism based on the MLP through a project co-funded by UNOCT and the US Department of State.
With the theme Voices for Peace, Victims of Terrorism as Peace Advocates and Educators, this year's commemoration, just like the past 6 editions, seeks to create awareness as well as rally global support for victims and survivors of terrorism. Chukunonso Nwambweze, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Borno State, ravaged by the devastating effects of terrorism, had thousands of innocent lives lost and countless forever changed by the trauma of terrorist attacks. As the world marks the Day of Remembrance and Tribute to Victims of Terrorism, Pauline Kujevana takes a look at governments' and partners' efforts to rebuild the lives of victims.
The impact of Boko Haram terrorism in Borno State has been catastrophic, leaving a trail of devastation and despair in its wake since 2009. The insurgency has claimed thousands of lives, displaced millions and destroyed countless communities, with agricultural production and commercial activity grinding to a halt and the education sector severely impacted. The United Nations recognizes the critical role of member states in supporting victims of terrorism as through technical assistance and capacity building. Borno State and other affected regions are supported to better address the needs of the victims.
The government, as I speak with you, in collaboration with one of its partners, UNDP, is organizing a series of workshops, while other partners like IOM have also been very active in community engagement, and UNICEF has been the lead when it comes to children reintegration in the communities of return.
As the state government works tirelessly to rebuild and restore hope, the voices of victims and survivors are being heard, their needs supported, and their right upheld, providing them medium and long-term support needed to fully recover, rehabilitate and reintegrate into society.
There's a holistic transition from being an IDP, someone that has been displaced, to someone that is probably now a house owner, access to farming implements, and able to live life with other skills that have acquired an empowerment package from the government.
Borno State's devastating struggle with terrorism and government tireless effort to rebuild and support victims serves as a powerful reminder of both the lasting impact of violent extremism and the resilience of the state's people. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
Similarly, an approximate population of 350,000 inhabitants of Dikwa town in Borno Central Senatorial District fled to neighboring cities, including Maiduguri, which is about 100 kilometers away, for safety due to constant attacks by the Boko Haram terrorists. A situation that left the town deserted for 4 years. However, the coordinated effort by the federal and Borno state governments has resulted to returning of a large number of the inhabitants to their ancestral homes, with social and economic activities now booming. Muhammad Abubakar will tell us about it.
That was the Shehu of Dikwa, Ibrahim Ibn Umar Ibrahim El-Kanimi's way of telling his subject that he has retired to bed for the day, a daily and a long-standing tradition that could only be truncated by the Boko Haram insurgency when they took over everything about the historic town for 4 good years. Not only is this tradition now guaranteed every day, so are commercial and other economic activities within the town that is a gateway to several African countries like Chad, Cameroon, Sudan and Central African Republic. Even Western education, which the Boko Haram insurgents were out to fight, is making a strong presence once again, with beautifully constructed schools now dotting the landscape owing to the total destruction of the ones previously in place by the Boko Haram insurgents. Farming, that is the main preoccupation of the inhabitants of Dikwa for ages, seems to be ahead of other economic activities now, with virtually everybody deeply involved as the rainy season progresses. Some of the locals have shared with the NTA their experience of the insurgency while it lasted.
I lost everything I possessed to the insurgents.
When myself together with the family felt threatened by the Boko Haram fighters, we hurriedly fled to a faraway location that was safe, where we stayed as IDPs.
Now that peace to a greater extent is back, what is the feeling around the locals?
The whole of this town was deserted in the wake of the insurgency. What do you see now? Don't you see social and economic activities now back?
To a people that endured so much trauma, confidence building is critical at this material time, as confirmed by those at leadership position in the local government.
The people have now settled and they have started their businesses, activities fully.
As a local government council concerned, we have cultivated about 2,000 acres of rice, both rice and guinea corn.
Behind me is one of the scars left by the Boko Haram insurgency. To be precise, this building used to be the private residence of the immediate past Shehu of Dikwa.
As the inhabitants of Dikwa carry on with their daily hustle to make the two ends meet, it is only some of the scars left by the insurgency that make them to remember the harrowing days. Maiduguri, Muhammad Abubakar, NTA News.
Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu extends his profound condolences to the government and the people of Jigawa State over the recent flooding that led to the loss of lives and displacement of many citizens. The president also commiserates with the bereaved families and victims of the flooding, which impacted about 14 local government areas and many households. President Tinubu states that recurring environmental disasters underscore the urgency of sustaining measures to address climate change and its perils, as well as remove man-made elements to the challenge. The president prays for the repose of the souls of the deceased and assures the people of Jigawa of his administration's support at this difficult time. Now time for a break. Stay with us. Glad to have you back. Beyond service delivery, federal government says industry players in the power sector must see access to electricity as a fundamental right of everyone in the country. Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, while inaugurating power sector communication team, says customers deserve the right to know reasons for power outage or any other challenge in the sector. He tasks the communication team to deliver results. Joshua Odito reports that the power sector communication team is to build synergy amongst agencies in the Federal Ministry of Power and players in generation and distribution arms of electricity value chain to achieving effective communication to end users. With gains recorded in the sector in the last 1 year of the current administration, the Power Minister believes information managers in the sector have a role to play in sustaining the trajectory.
Among stakeholders and creating a positive narrative around the power sector. We envision a Nigeria where electricity is not just a luxury, but a fundamental human right. It is everybody's entitlement. To achieve this, we must work together, and we believe that effective communication is key.
The Minister of Power there. Now, looking at other issues, key players in the electoral process and other stakeholders have converged on the nation's capital city, Abuja, to further review some of the issues that have discredited the electoral process in the country in the past, with the view to improving on them. This was at a workshop organized by Auda Nepad to further create more awareness on the need for credible off-cycle and by-elections in 2024. Kenneth Nani reports.
The 2023 general elections is now history, although some of the processes during the polls triggered the need for clarification to some stakeholders and necessitated more conversations about ensuring a more seamless process. Auda Nepad is also aligning itself with this initiative to widen views around these factors on the need to need all of these in the board to ensure that only best practices are adopted in line with the provisions of Electoral Act of 2022.
A positive mindset and selfless delivery can transform elections into the expression of the people's will, leading to governance that genuinely serves and uplifts the entire society.
The workshop is certain that the forthcoming off-cycle elections in Edo and Ondo states will further test integrity of the electoral umpire, the political will, and the civil obligations to implementing recommendations emanating from different fora such as these.
The electoral management body has to be looked into so that their credibility will be enhanced. For every election, we look up to them.
Discussions here are also to reawaken the consciousness in gatekeeping the electoral process to guarantee civil rights protection and electoral crisis management that will enhance free, fair, and credible by-elections in 2024.
We should avoid violence, we should avoid maybe double registration. These are the things that you can see that is causing much problem. The stakeholders, we have a...
Let's have a bit on sports now.
Many thanks, Yeri. Right, let's begin with grassroots sports development. As the Olympic Games are now over, but the poor outing of Team Nigeria has called the nation's grassroots sports development to question. Austin Edemodo shares the concerns of some Nigerians.
Closing speed. Dina Asher-Smith fades. It's going to be Gabby Thomas. Gabby Thomas.
The disappointing outing of Team Nigeria at the just concluded Paris 2024 Olympic Games lingers in the memories of Nigerians.
For Nigeria to win Olympic or to win any tournament, it must start from grassroots. It must have a long time to plan it. It might not even go to pick a trophy. It might have like even 6 years, 7 years, 8 years plan. That is how you get it. That's how other people get it.
As the blame game continues, the need to invest in grassroots sports development has become a necessity.
Now, how many schools in Nigeria has a playing ground?
We should rather make sure that most of our athletes, our talents, are not being taken over by the other countries.
What could be the reasons why already existing sports programs such as the school sports, tertiary institutions games, national youth games, and even the National Sports Festival have not made the desired impact?
One of the basic problems is that we lack database in terms of statistics that tends to want to track the performance of athletes and even the coaches. And secondly, we have quack coaches, not well trained. They don't know the rudiments. They just go to National Institute of Sports and they're not qualified at all.
Having said that, now it's time to start early preparations for the next Olympic Games in Los Angeles 2028, with the hope that history will not repeat itself. I am Austin Edemodo, NTA News.
Well said, Austin. We don't want history to repeat itself. And that's the much you can take on Sports Update. It's back to Nyeri.
Many thanks, Buddy. And that's News Extra tonight. Many thanks for watching. Have a good night.